Welcome to a very special bonus episode of Let's Talk Pokemon, the podcast where we talk anything and everything Pokemon. And listeners, it's not just a special episode because I'm talking about the Pokemon Presents. It's a special episode because I am not alone in this. I finally have, for at least this episode, a co-host, if you will, a kindred spirit of mine, a buddy that I've called out in a few episodes about how we've been kind of talking about creating our own podcast. I'm joined by none other than, he goes by Squirtle Squad 47 on social media. We can just call him Austin. Hello, Austin. How you been?
Hey, man. You threw down the gauntlet and I had to respond. So here I am,
how's
finally.
Going?
Oh, you know, man, I guess for us, it's been 23 years of Pokemon now, and I'm just so excited for this year of the 25th anniversary, and with the Pokemon Direct, I'm super excited with where we're going in the future.
Yeah, a lot of kind of unexpected announcement. Like, one I think everyone kind of knew was coming, and then the other one was very much a surprise, or at least in the presentation of it. So yeah, we're definitely going to talk about everything in the Pokemon Presents, but for the listeners, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself in general?
Well, like you introduced me, my name's Austin. Like I said, I've been playing Pokemon for 23 years because that's when it came to the States, was 98. I got it. I did get it like right in the summer. It was like that right before my birthday, so summer fall cusp. I got red version, and I have played at least the first main series game of every generation since.
And then the reason I say kindred spirits is because Austin and I have a lot more in common than I think than we realize. We both used to work together at a theme park. We're both fans of Spider-Man.
Also true.
We're both probably obsessed fans of Squirtle.
Yep.
What else? Halo was a big interest of ours back
Halo.
then. Do you still play?
I don't actively play currently, but whenever the new game comes out, I always get the new Halo.
Okay. So yeah, there's just a lot of things that we just kind of knew we had in common, and then that kind of basically started our friendship. Yeah. And then we still obviously keep in contact every once in a while. We tried doing a Pokemon podcast, like a year ago, I want to say, is when we kind of had Olden.
Yeah, we were trying to get it all together and then never followed through with recording.
Yeah, our scheduling was all over the place.
But thanks pandemic, we have a little more free time.
A little bit more, yeah. So this is exciting to have you here, and I can't wait to see what our conversations bring about the Pokemon Present. So let's go ahead and get into it then. It was a 20-minute presentation. And to be clear to the listeners, this was a Pokemon Presents, which I don't know, Austin, if you read up on that there's a difference between a Presents and a Direct. Pokemon Presents was something new that was created, I think a year and a half, 2 years ago from the Pokemon Company. I can't remember what the first one was about, but basically, apparently, a Pokemon Direct is Nintendo operated. So when Pokemon does a Pokemon Direct, it's only going to be on whatever the Nintendo console is at that time. So in this case, it would be a Switch. It should only be about Switch games and Switch news for Pokemon. A Pokemon Presents is going to cover possibly anything Pokemon reaches out to. So that could have been the card game. That could have been if they wanted to do a board game, or maybe merchandise, or whatever Pokemon wants to present. It's kind of fair game. And so I didn't realize that until this one was coming up, and then a lot of people on social media were going all abuzz about it. And then Sarah B kind of reported that there is a difference between the two, and so that's why a lot of speculation was going all over the place as to what is it that they're actually going to announce in this. So that was something I just learned within a week ago, which I thought was interesting.
The more you know.
All right. So with this Presents, it started off with I I guess what Pokemon Company has started doing is the usual, like, let's try to hit you with as much nostalgia as possible to get you excited. So they basically ran through the history of Pokemon year by year, genre, or I guess media by media,
Yeah.
right? Because it did card game, it
Anime.
did anime, and yeah, and so it ran through all of that, which the only thing that I can compare this to is when they were doing the Sun and Moon. I think there was a Pokemon Direct for Sun and Moon, and did that whole like going through the years of Pokemon games, and it all comes together, culminating to this one game here. So, what did you think of it this time around?
Well, I mean, it hit me right in the feels. I started to, my allergies started acting up, and I had to wipe my eyes a few times watching it, just because, just looking at it, like, it really is just the trip down memory lane, because I had been playing this. The franchise has been part of my life for, well, over 2/3 of my life at this point, and that's just, nothing has been part of my life as long or as important to me over for that length of time as Pokemon. So just seeing it all, really, it just, like you said, it hit all this nostalgia.
Do you remember the Sun and Moon one though? The one I was talking about?
Vaguely, I remember it wasn't that different from what I remember of this presentation, of how they kind of transitioned from one game to another. The overall shell was different for this one, because it was all the media and like the TVs and the swapping everything, but the like general like seed of an idea was this, from what I remember.
Yeah. I did like this one a lot. I liked seeing all the different facets that Pokemon had reached out. Like it wasn't just like the cards, the anime, and the video game that they showed, because usually those are like the three main staples that everyone already know exist and it's been out there and everyone interacts with. But then they'll talk about like linking up with each other, like using link cables and using e-readers and arcade machines and things like that, which was very crazy to see. Like there were even some things that I didn't even realize Pokemon even had. Like there was one that looked like Pogs almost, but you had to slide them into slots.
Yeah,
like these little like circular discs, like these circular coins or something.
I remember those existing. I never had any, but I remember them being a thing that existed.
It was neat to see things like Hey You Pikachu in there, and then the Wii U Ranch, the Pokemon Ranch that was in there.
Jot down notes, because as a gotta catch them all, one of my adult goals with adult money to spend is to try to track down all the games. So I was like, I didn't even know that was one that existed. I have to find that now too.
Funny that you brought that up, because I don't know if I really announced this in either in another episode of mine or on social media, but I'm currently in the midst of trying to gather a sealed collection of the games, of everyone I could possibly get. So like for right now, like I have a sealed copy of Rumble Rush. I have a sealed copy of Detective Pikachu. Sun and Moon, I think I'm waiting on being sent over to me. Like I'm trying to get a sealed copy of this. And so when I looked at this intro, I was like, oh crap, like I have a lot of money to spend.
I'm trying to get every game with their box. Sealed, not a big deal, though. My three of my top prized possessions are my red, blue, and green sealed boxes. Japanese and my sealed original Japanese Pokemon Stadium, because of what the Pokemon Stadium we got in the States was Pokemon Stadium 2 in Japan. And I have that as well, but not in its box, because I got that imported back in 99 or whatever.
You got to be careful when you're going online with some of these games, because apparently there's a thing that's now called reproduction games. I did not know that was a thing. So like, for instance, Pokemon Platinum is roughly around $100 game right now, but you'll see listings for like $30 or $40, and then I'm thinking in my head like, how is it this cheap? Like, it's obviously not compared to this one. Like, I understand why I wouldn't pick this one. And then when you look at the details, they'll say it's a reproduction game, which apparently they just either create from scratch or they renew parts and stuff like that, and so it's not really the authentic original. So
I was trying to get the Gen 3 trio, Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, and finding those just original games was has not been fruitful. I've only been able to find fakes.
Yeah, so it's a tricky market out there. But going back to the intro, the only thing that kind of slightly bothered me was the Siri stating what it is. Like, it's obviously not Siri, but like them saying card game, battle, anime, and I was like, okay, I can kind of do without this because I can read it there, but it kind of just threw me out because it just seemed very one dimensional, and I was like, oh, it would have been cool if I don't know if they use like Ash saying battle instead of like a computer saying battle. Like, do you get what I mean?
Yeah. I didn't really hear, like, when I was watching it, those words just kind of were in one ear, out the other.
Yeah, I guess I pay attention too much to detail, but it was just something that kind of threw me off in a while, because like I'll be really into a game and all of a sudden it'll say trading card. I'm like, oh, shut up and move on. Like, I just don't talk right now. I'm watching this beauty happen in front of me. But overall, yeah, it was a very good intro. I don't know how long of the presents it was, because it took a big chunk, and I was like, oh boy, I'm a little worried. I don't know what they're going to present now, because this feels like it took up half the runtime. But I guess it's needed, though, right? I think it's just to commemorate 25th anniversary. Of course, they would do something that shows everything they've been doing for the last 25 years. All right, let's go ahead and start talking then about the games that were presented in the event. They started with Pokemon Snap, which I don't think was surprising. I think a lot of people were betting on Unite and Snap being part of the event, and so with Snap, they give us finally some more details about it. Well, the first thing that they showed off was. Again, it's talking about the region, showing off the Z01, which, by any chance, do you remember what the original Snap vehicle was called?
I don't. I can look that up real quick.
Because this one was the Z01 or something like that, and then I was like, I was trying to remember what the first one was called, because I know it had a title to it.
The 01.
So is it just the same thing?
It's probably an updated one.
Huh.
You know, it's the 2021 model. Like, it's the 2021 Corolla.
Okay, so then they talked about like the features. You could edit your photos, which by editing, is it just the stickers, right? I think they didn't really show much of anything else other than putting stickers on there.
I didn't see anything like hardcore, like color correction or anything like that, but it did look like you could reframe your photo, which is good because there's the scoring probably wants Pokemon to be centered in the picture, but for actual photography, you know, you have like the rule of thirds and stuff, so being able to like actually put good photo theory to your photos after you've gotten a good score from it will probably be good for those people who actually like taking real photography.
Right. Okay. What else? They showed off a new, because there's the berry that you can feed them, and then there's what's the
Lumen Orb?
Yeah, where it kind of illuminates their character / the action they do, because I think the one that stood out was when they used it on a Score Bunny. Score Bunny's fire turned to blue.
Yeah, so
that would make things kind of unique, because apparently like it can happen to every Pokemon, which I'm gonna go on a limb here and say that except for the Lumios, the Pokemon that already are illuminated, like I forget what that's called, but like like the
Luminite, something like that.
yeah, like unless of course that's something you have to keep using those things to make it illuminate. That was one thing that was just, I guess, unclear, but yeah, I don't know. So they just showed off more content of the Snap, because you can also share your photos to like an online database and compare it to other people who've taken photos, and it kind of has like this sort of online competition, I guess you could say, where if you see someone that has taken like a better photo, then you're going to want to go back and try to take a better photo than that.
Yeah, it looked like a blend between like Reddit upvoting and Instagram.
Yeah. So I know one of the earlier worries with this game a lot of people had was, is this worth the $60 price tag to it? With what they showed off, given that they gave us more info of what we could do, do you think it's still worth that $60 price tag, or what? What do you think? What are your overall thoughts on this?
I mean, we still haven't seen, like, we don't know how many levels or zones you will have, or if there'll be like day-night cycles or anything like that. But Cerebi tweeted out, or at least that's where I saw it, that the more, I guess, points you get, or the more experience, or the more your photo album fills up, when you go back to an area, there's more Pokemon and closer to you. So there's going to at least be replayability. And I think as long as the game, because the original one, like, you could, like, if you watch like the speedrunners for it, like, they have it down to a T, like everything is scripted, everything happens the exact same way. But if there's going to be some randomness and some reason to go back to a level, I think it'll justify it $60.
Yeah, I feel like maybe they're saving some more information until the game comes out closer, right? Because it comes out the end of April.
April 30th, I believe.
Right. So we still got March? Yeah,
almost 2 months.
Almost 2 months.
A little over 2 months, yeah.
You think they'll show us another trailer for it?
Probably. I think we'll get one more like teaser style trailer.
Right.
I don't think we're gonna get too much more information. I think they'll just kind of, here's a few more things to see. Maybe flesh out a little bit more of the other people. The professor and the two other characters.
So I'm thinking another trailer fleshing out the mechanic, the illuminate mechanic or whatever that the Pokemon are going to do, because that's actually like the one thing they didn't really touch on in this one.
Yeah,
they touched on everything else except for that. So
yeah, I don't know, because
I wonder.
Pokemon tends to be pretty light on details in their trailers. Like Dynamax, there's so many questions about that, and that had to be in like press releases or FAQs essentially, but like the trailers themselves gave so little information on Dynamax and Dynamax raids, so I'm not surprised. I feel like they just kind of give you just enough to be like, this is a thing that's in the game, and then you'll figure it out when you get the game.
Yeah, that's pretty much it, Pokemon Snap wise. Either way, I think obviously we're still going to get it,
okay,
no matter what comes out of it. Celebi seems to be the Pokemon of choice for this one. Like how the original had Mew, this time around. Obviously, they didn't want to copy that, which is kind of, I guess, a smart move. I mean, you don't want to how do you capture the nostalgic moment of going in the clouds and space or whatever to capture Mew? Yeah, so they give you Celebi instead on this one.
And then in 20 years, when they do the next one, we'll have Jirachi.
That's if the cycle repeats, and every 20 years, for those of us that will still remember, they owe us the next mythical Pokemon.
It's patterns.
All right, let's go ahead and talk about the next announcement, which was not exactly a big surprise for everyone because on terms of patterns, right? I guess it was due for a remake, and this time around it is obviously going to be Diamond and Pearl, and that is exactly what they showed off. Although some people are using the term remake quite loosely in this context, but we get Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. Remakes that are not exactly made from Game Freak. They're made from the same people that did Pokemon Home.
Yep.
And I guess the only Game Freak control in this is that it's co-directed with Masuda. And I, well, I don't know how to exactly tackle this because this wasn't, I guess, the style that people thought that we were going to have for Diamond and Pearl. Essentially, what they did was taken the game and put it in what they called the chibi style type of art.
Yeah.
And like kind of like, I don't know, it reminds me of Lego Duplo. That's the best way I kind of see it. And just, I guess, remodeled all the towns. It's basically like what, like the Heart Gold Soul Silver of Gold and Silver. Like it's just like a faithful restoration or remastered of a way of Diamond and Pearl. I like it. I don't mind it at all. I don't know. A lot of people had their hearts set on seeing Diamond and Pearl like how Sword and Shield is, with the same type of open environment, with the same type of gameplay. So I think it caught people off guard that they were going back to this whole 2D style and a kind of this sort of overview presentation of it. What do you think? What are your takes on this?
Well, I love it. Gen 4 is my favorite generation. I know that's kind of a hot take. I feel that Gen 4 is very divisive, as is these remakes. For me, the art style hits a different nostalgia bone. When I see it, it reminds me of Harvest Moon 64. Just, it's not the exact same, but it gives me those vibes, and I love that game so much. So, like, blending my favorite generation with a very nostalgic game look for me too. I'm all about it.
Yeah, I'm surprised I'm not as attached to Diamond and Pearl as the rest of the world because everyone has their falling out of Pokemon for a little bit, and mine was basically like right as Gen 3 was starting. And what got me back was my roommate in college was actually a Pokemon fan. He was playing Diamond and Pearl, and that's when I kind of got back into it. And that's when I got my first live decks, I guess you could say, where we literally had a copy of every single Pokemon in existence. So it's weird, like Diamond and Pearl, as much as like I just don't have that same like, oh my gosh, this is like the best generation ever, which is such, I don't know, it's so weird to see this huge crowd like clamoring for it. Like I thought Gen 5 would be like the big deal because that's where I would say the Pokemon community kind of, I don't know, like kind of tapered off a little bit because Gen 5 was like a huge, what is it, like, that was supposed to be like the reboot of the Pokemon franchise, right?
Until post-game, it was all original Pokemon until you got to the post-game. Then it was old Pokemon, but it was 150 new ones. I can't exactly... I mean, I know one of the reasons I love Gen 4 for me is I was similar. Gen 3, I kind of had a fallout at that generation. Like, I never played Fire Red or Leaf Green. I never finished my copy of Sapphire. Never played Emerald. I don't like Hoenn as a region. I wasn't a fan of a lot of the Pokemon. And then 4 got me back in. Part of the reason is because penguins are my favorite animal, and I tend to like the water starters, and so I could have a penguin starter. And if I hadn't submitted my love for Squirtle at that point, it might have overtaken Piplup might have overtaken Squirtle as my favorite Pokemon. I couldn't tell you specifically why. It's just I think of those games and it just makes me feel warm and happy. Like it's just this deep feeling but I can't like specifically be like, oh, I remember playing in like this battle or this thing or this part of the story. It just it's just like subconscious warm and fuzzy with the generation. So
it's interesting to see that they let another company take care of the remakes, because it's always been Game Freak up until this point, right? Because Heart Gold, Soul Silver, Fire Red, Leaf Green
series games and their remakes have been Game Freak,
right? So I'm curious as to what the decision was that led them to say, hey, okay, you guys try out doing the remakes instead of us. Because I feel like the consistency, I don't know, not that people were complaining about it, I guess you could say, but there's like the few notable people that mention like, oh, well, if this bombs, then you can't exactly blame Game Freak because they're not the ones really behind it all. But a lot of people are worried that it is just a 1-for-1 of Diamond and Pearl and that there's nothing new, which I'm going to hold off judgment on that because I'm sure they just obviously didn't want to reveal everything about the game just yet. And just like what in Omega, Ruby, Alpha, Sapphire, and all the remakes, there's always been some sort of like story twist or some addition to the story that kind of enriches the content a bit. So it looks good. I don't mind it at all. I remember, I think it was one of my previous episodes, I went into like a little mini rant about how the remakes aren't really needed. And so I could always, I felt like in my head, I'm thinking, well, if we get a Diamond and Pearl remake that's like Sword and Shield, then you're going to get your Kanto fans that are going to complain and argue, well, why can't we have this? Why can't we have, Gen 1 as Sword and Shield? And then you're going to have your Johto fans who are going to say, why can't we have Johto as Sword and Shield? I feel like this hits that kind of middle ground where it's like, oh, well, we've had our own remakes that are like this style, so it's not a big deal. Diamond and Pearl, you guys can enjoy it this time around.
Yeah, I mean, there'll always be the people who advocate for their quote, their generation to be like reimagined in whatever the modern system is. But my thing about this one in particular I've noticed on my social media is this is the first remake that people are really excited for, because I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, I missed Gen 4, or for whatever reason they never played Diamond, Pearl, or Platinum. And so this is a lot of time for people to are excited because they get to finally experience these games, because they are pretty hard to find. So it's not hard to find a Kanto experience. A little harder to find Johto. Hoenn still pretty easy because of Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. And then Black and White, Gen 5, 6, 7, 8 are still new enough that they're not too hard to find. So I guess my thing about remakes are you have to look at partly too, like what improvement can you do bringing that game forward. And as much as I love Gen 4, Diamond and Pearl had a lot of core system problems, mainly in like surfing was so slow. The health bars moved so slow. Like there's a lot of those things. It's just like those, you have Platinum, but you kind of just needed all of that to kind of just get a polish and an update, I feel. And so, that's I know people are worried when it says faithful, but the press release itself says, quote, these games are updated with easy-to-understand, player-friendly conveniences introduced in recent Pokemon Core series video games, in addition to up-close and personal Pokemon battle scenes. So it's clearly not a true one-for-one faithful adaptation, just with a different skin. It does seem like they're doing some updates to bring it into more in line with what modern Pokemon games are.
Which one are you getting?
Both.
Diamond or Pearl?
I've
both?
gotten both since X and Y, and so at this point, again, I want to have every game and be counterintuitive to not. Well, I get both on release. Not sure if I'm going to only get one on release. I'm going to get Pearl because that's the one I got when I first played through Gen 4.
I don't think they gave us a specific release date. It's just sometime in the fall. But I believe like some UK pre-orders came up. It's priced at a $60 price tag, which I don't know if that's official, but being that it's on a Switch console, I'm not exactly surprised. I'm pretty sure because everyone's comparing this to what is it, Link's
Awakening,
Link's Awakening. You know, was that a $60 game? Do you remember?
I think it was a $40 game.
40. I was gonna say like it'd be nice if it was just a $40 game, but seeing that it's like kind of like the main Pokemon game this year, I feel like they'll keep it to 60. So hopefully that implies that they definitely added a lot more, or not a lot more, but just a just different content in there to make it feel like it's worth that price tag. Because nowadays it's hard to justify the purchase of a game, especially with a lot of the, I guess, unfinished games going out there right now. So, you know, I don't think I've been too disappointed with anything that Pokemon has come out. So I'm sure the $60 would be just fine.
Let me get that Shaman. It's one of the few mythicals I don't have easy access to that I need.
Yeah, because they added Celebi when they put Crystal out in the Virtual Console. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if they'll put the mythicals in this one that easily.
Because there's like the Arceus event with the Eon Flute or whatever that never actually got. Yeah. Did it never get released, or was it just never released in the States?
I missed out on that one completely.
I know at the very least it never got released in the States. So like there was the Arceus event, the Darkrai event, and Shaman event. And so being able to, even if it was like a flip a switch a year after release kind of thing, being able to implement these events that never came to the US, or only some that came to the US, would be really cool. And let us people who missed out get a chance to get every Pokemon in home so we can get the Origin Magearna.
The last thing that they ended the event with was probably the game that's getting the most buzz, because it's very different. Well, to an extent, it's different than what Game Freak is used to developing for their Pokemon games. But they announced Pokemon Legends Arceus, which they did say was pronounced Arceus. I think that's one of the most notable things about this presentation, was that we finally get confirmation of how it's pronounced.
Forget everything else. We got the most important thing, which is how do you pronounce the god Pokemon's name? It's Arceus.
And this is, I don't know, the best way to explain this is that this is the sort of quote-unquote Breath of the Wild Pokemon game that people have been wanting since we had an announcement for a Switch console, a Pokemon Switch console game. And it's got an old-time feeling to it. I mean, the story behind it is that you're creating, or you're helping the creation of the first Sinnoh Pokedex. And you play a character who looks like a ninja. I don't know. To me, when I first look at it, it was like very ninja style, like. But yeah, I don't know what to make of this game. It looks cool. I love the art style to it. It's definitely got a very ancient times kind of vibe to it. The starters is a very random. You have to pick between Rowlet, Cyndaquil, and Oshawott, which is such a weird combination. And I'm curious how they're going to make this work, because if you're creating Sinnoh's first Pokedex, how do you explain Rowlet and Cyndaquil? Well, I feel like Cyndaquil might be a little bit easier, but Rowlet is so much newer that it how do you register that into the Sinnoh Dex? Like that's kind of I'm curious what their story's going to lead with that. But
I mean, again, I'm looking at the press release. It says start your venture with either Rowlet, Cyndaquil, or Oshawott as their first partner Pokemon. These 3 Pokemon arrived with a Pokemon professor who encountered them on research excursion to various regions. So they're setting it up that these are not native to Sinnoh. So the idea could be go find all the native Sinnoh Pokemon.
It looks good. I'm curious of how much of a full-fledged game this is, though, because if this was like a major game, I mean, this would be like a fall release. Usually their main series games are fall releases, and although I think Cerebi pretty much Cerebi had mentioned that this is considered a main series game, like Let's Go. I don't know. It's coming out in early 2022. So it kind of feels like it's going to come out around the same time that Snap is coming out this year. It's going to be like our spring game. So I feel like this is going to be more shortened. Like it's not going to be a full-on fleshed out game like a Diamond and Pearl game or, Sword and Shield. It's just going to be a little bit it's going to be a bit smaller. Because I feel like maybe this is an experiment that Game Freak is toying around with to see if this is the direction that they want to go with Pokemon main series games.
I don't know about if it'll be smaller. I think my thought of seeing that early 2022 made me think of this will be like the to use like theater performance terms, the button, the last pose, the finale for 25 years is kind of like this is the new face of Pokemon, and this is me doing a lot of speculation and just kind of but it's early 2022, could be around this time next year, which would then be like, all right, 25th anniversary, the year celebration. This is how we're gonna wrap up our 25th year as a franchise with this brand new take on a main series game. But maybe not. Maybe it is like you said. That's just when I saw it. That's kind of how I thought. It's like you said. Normally the main games come out in fall, but to me, I saw this one be like, oh, this is how they're gonna like put a cap in, or put the finale for 25 years.
Well, so what do you think? This is an action RPG. I feel like I've never heard Pokemon labeled as an action RPG, which makes it interesting why this one, there was that emphasis there. It looks good. I'm not going to discredit that. Like, it looks good. It's got an interesting story behind it. I'm all for it. I don't know. I don't know what else to expect from this, because it almost seems like you're playing Let's Go just in a third-person view kind of way, because you're still just throwing a Pokeball. I don't know if it said that you can engage. You can just engage in battle, right? That's what did they mention that?
They showed battles, but they also just showed you like throwing Pokeballs to catch them. So it wasn't clear if you could just... Right. Because it almost, when it looks like it, makes me just think of like a Final Fantasy or a Golden Sun kind of like open world action RPGs where you run around, like Pokemon, where you go and if you run into something, you battle it. But this is the first time we've seen, outside of Let's Go, but any other game, you've never been able to, like, I guess even technically Let's Go, you still encounter the Pokemon. In this, there's no, they didn't show like let me run into you and then catch you. Like, you snuck up and you threw it. Like, in the overworld, you could catch Pokemon. So that's a new thing. But how you initiate combat, we never saw. You just saw overworld and combat. So I don't know if it's going to be like you hit a button and it throws it out. Can other Pokemon join in? Like, we'll be getting more information, I assume, in the next year. But I think, like, just you look at some of the images, like the Pokemon, your Pokemon standing like with you, your partner with Pokemon with you, but it's not always there. So there is obviously some way to initiate a battle.
Yeah, I'm still trying to wrap my thoughts around this one. Like, it's so it looks and feels different than what Game Freak has done before, which is weird to say because it has sort of like this presence of Sword and Shield, but just, I don't know, everything else about the battling, the throwing just makes it feel like it's got that classic Pokemon take to it. It's just the action RPG I'm still stuck up on. Like, I don't know, like, does your character get to battle other people, which would be weird, but maybe you have to, like, do things like in Breath of the Wild, like you have to, like, climb and cook and do other stuff. I mean, I don't know. I'd be interested to see where this goes, but I think the pre-order price for this one too, at least in the UK, was also $60. So another full-on standard Switch price. I don't know. I'm curious to see what else they're willing to share about this game, because I feel like they're being as discreet as possible with this one, not to spoil, I guess, some of the big surprises on this. I mean, the starters, for instance, like, do you think there's any sense to the starters?
They don't. No, mainly because it breaks the triangle dynamic, and an extent you still have fire, grass, water, but if they've had secondary types, Rowlet's the only one, or Decidueye is the only one with a dual typing. Cyndaquil, or Typhlosion, and Samurott are both pure water and fire types. Correct? Samurott's pure water. Typhlosion's definitely pure fire.
Yeah.
But Decidueye is ghost grass. So that's interesting. To me, though, Rowlet and Oshawott actually make sense. It's Cyndaquil that's a little interesting to me. I would have thought it would have been kind of fitting the theme that I see in Oshawott and Rowlet. I would have thought it would have been Chimchar.
Sorry, because I've heard that same thing too. Because the Samurott's the samurai,
and then Fernape would just
archer.
Be like a martial artist, because they have a very ancient Japan, like you said, ninja samurai feel to it. So I just feel like you'd have, ancient Japanese. They had the samurai, they had archers, and then they had martial artists. So, like, the Typhlosion Cyndaquil line is I think kind of an outlier on that perceived theme. I mean,
I feel like Cyndaquil's involvement has something to do maybe with, like, the history behind Johto, because Johto has, like, the same feel that this game has, where it's kind of like that ancient kind of civilization. There's a lot of history and lore to flesh out there, and so I feel like maybe Cyndaquil's, like, addition to this is kind of bringing back that feel. Like, I don't know, when I look at this game, it kind of gives me, like, vibes of Johto a little bit.
I don't know. Like, I mean, for all we know, they just threw darts at a dartboard. Like, yeah, or just
Pulled names out of a hat.
whoever the director is got to pick his favorite starter for each type. I mean, I like the Cyndaquil line, so I'm not like upset that they're in the game. I just, again, I feel like Rowlet and Oshawott, you can, looking at the aesthetic, you can see like Samurott and Decidueye make sense.
I can't imagine what that one person is going through where like their favorite Pokemon of the generation is all three of these, right? Like that person's favorite starter of Alola was Rowlet, their favorite starter of Johto was Cyndaquil, their favorite starter of Gen 5, right, is Oshawott. Like, I can't imagine them going through this decision of like, oh my god, who the hell do I pick?
Sorry for them on that.
Tackling probably the main question or the main thing that people are talking about with this one is the graphics look better than Sword and Shield. Do you agree to that? Or like, what is your take on the visual look of it?
For one, I've never played a Pokemon game for its graphics, but I will say it's a different style. Like, it might be the same engine, but it's still a different style in that engine. I don't think it's considerably better from what we saw. Like, it's like, oh, it definitely looks better. Oh, it looks worse. I think it's, if I was to rate Sword and Shield, I would say it's maybe like a 7, and this is like a 7.5 from what I've seen. So I don't think it's a huge improvement. Like, yes, the trees look slightly better, but like the grass still doesn't look great, like compared to, like a Witcher or a game like that. But I don't play Pokemon for that, so I'm much more rather them have a good, solid, stylized aesthetic, even if it's not as high fidelity. And it definitely has, like Sword and Shield, a good stylized aesthetic that I like.
Yeah, the whole graphics argument or talk never happened until we got to a Switch console game. So I find it funny that people are all of a sudden now having to, or they feel like they have to care now about the graphics because it is on a home console. I don't think it's that much different at all than Sword and Shield. I feel like it's just the color scheme to it. Because if you compare this to Sword and Shield is much more vibrant. There's a lot of bright colors, and it's just trying to grab your attention in every way. This one, everything just seems more natural, but everything's a little bit more, like, everything's a bit darker. And so it has, like, it's like that ancient vibe to it. And so, I don't know, like, a lot of people are saying, like, this looks so much better in Sword and Shield. I would just say it's the same. It's just your attention is diverted in a different way.
I'm looking through some stills, and I don't think it really looks noticeably better. I think it looks the same, like, just about the same maybe, but with a slightly different style to it.
But yeah, it's exciting. I'm looking forward to it. So that's pretty much all that he did the presents with, which I don't know how you felt about it, but I was a little thrown off by the ending where it's just like, hey, these are the games. Hope you like them. Bye. And I was like, oh, that bye? Like, no heartfelt, like, thank you for the 25 years. No heartfelt of, like, thank you for supporting. It's just like, hey, these are the games. Okay, out of here. Did you get that same feeling, or did you? I didn't dig really, that
deep into it, but it did certainly feel like this was okay, we have to get this together, and we still can't do what we wanted to do because of the pandemic, but we have to do something. So it feels, I think they had an idea to do a bigger thing, and this is just like the best they could do. I don't know, like, it was over, and I didn't feel like, wait, that's it. Like it just, I was like, oh, okay, like, that was cool.
Well, to me, I feel like I don't know. Maybe that. I think it's safe to say that this isn't going to be the
I
only
agree. And
Pokemon Presents we get this
I
year.
would imagine we get another one probably in like August, September to kind of get, or whenever they're going to give the release date for the Shining Diamond or Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. I think they'll do another present, and I imagine that one will be more on Legends, and probably see something of Unite, and that will be the one where they shadow drop Sleep. Yeah,
People still got their hopes up for that one.
Keep the meme alive.
Yeah, I don't understand whatever happened to that. Like they hyped it up, they had a device, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, we won't talk about it again.
Yeah, I imagine they just hit
the name that we don't speak of,
major snag, and they just couldn't figure it out. So I think I wouldn't be surprised if they're shelving it until either the technology gets cheaper or they find a solution to whatever problem they hit.
Right. I was surprised there was no Pokemon Unite talk, because I was for sure thinking that they were going to give us a US release date or at least an estimation, right, of like summer 2021 or fall 2021.
Canada's getting a beta. I was expecting even just to be like open beta, just even if it's just here's some footage, open beta worldwide. But maybe they're not there yet.
There's also Detective Pikachu 2. They talked about that like the same time that they talked about Sleep, so there's been no, I guess, update on that one. And nothing on the TCG side. I don't know. Like I always talk about how people have a lot of high expectations for anything nowadays, really, and it kind of like when it doesn't meet those expectations, people are generally disappointed. So I guess for me, it's weird because I guess I fell into that trap where I was expecting, maybe a few more announcements to kind of touch on everything that Pokemon does. Like I was even expecting like maybe some sort of like card game, not necessarily they're going to give us a new card game layout or whatever, but just something mentioning about the cards and I don't know, like I was expecting a little bit more, but that's why I felt kind of weird about the ending where it's just like, here's all the games, okay, thank you, bye, and then that was it. So that's why I think like this felt like a part one of a multi-part series of presents they're going to give us throughout the year.
Because it happened on the 26th, so the day before Pokemon Day. If it was like on Pokemon Day, I would have expected it to be bigger. Because it's the day before, I almost feel like this was like the pre-show. To be like, and then starting tomorrow, we start the 25th anniversary year celebration, and I imagine, you don't want, like, everyone's looking for all this, and it's like, but if they told us about Detective Pikachu 2 and Unite and gave all the details they had on Legends and Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl and everything, it'd be like, what do they do for the next 12 months? So, right. I don't know if they've said explicitly, but the way they've been talking about like the Pokemon music stuff, I've just gotten the implication, and they've normally, like, for the 20th was the year of Mythical. So, like, I just get the sense that they are planning a year of stuff, and so they have to space it out.
Yeah, I would assume so. Like, because I know they've mentioned they're doing like this whole backwards countdown. So the month of March is Galar, the month of April is Alola, and so on and so forth until we get down to Kanto, which should kind of end the 25th anniversary celebration. So I'd be curious to see if they do more announcements maybe on a monthly basis. But yeah, I don't know. Regardless, overall though, I mean, like the Presents was still good. It gave us, well, it gave most people the Diamond and Pearl remake announcement that they've been waiting for so long for. We got an announcement of a new game, a brand new game that hasn't been seen before yet. We did get more info on Snap, so it kind of hit like the main things that normally we would expect from a Pokemon event of sorts. So overall, yeah, I mean, like I said, I was happy with it. I'm excited. I was excited for everything.
Same.
So
I want to
yeah,
address one
give
thing
it an A
about
plus.
Legends that I've been seeing on social media that it bothers me, and I know a lot of people talk about it, about how just the average gamer clearly doesn't understand game development cycles. And I've seen a lot of people being like, oh, well, I hope they delay Legends because a year isn't long enough to get this game right. It's like, you really think if they just started working on this game, even if they hadn't, the absolute latest this game started development would have been the end ish of 2019 after Sword and Shield was done. Like, that's the absolute latest this game would have started. So that means it would have at least 2 full years of development. I imagine it's been in production for longer than that, because most games are in production for longer than that. So I just see all these people being like, oh man, I don't think they're going to be able to do this game right in here. And it's like, I mean, I hope that they don't force it out and put through crunch, because I hate the crunch that developers go through in the game industry. I would rather them delay a game till it's done. But the idea that this game, that they basically just barely got this demo for the Presents done, and that they've only been working on it for like a handful of months, it just baffles me. Like, this game clearly has been in development for at least, again, at least a year and a half, at least since Sword and Shield was released. So it just, I'm more of just, I have a conduit to vent my frustration at these people on Twitter who just don't seem to understand how games are made.
So I have three things. They're all separate things in response to that. Yeah, I would agree with you, right? Because a lot of people tend to not understand how game development works, and not to say that I don't think we fully understand how game development works, but obviously the planning phase, the preparation, the concept, and all that does take time. And even in the Presents, the guy did say, like, now a Game Freak's attention is full swing ahead on this game, which implies that they've been kind of poking at it beforehand and they've been working on it. So now they're able to, capitalize all resources and start like the polishing phase, maybe, I guess you could say. But yeah, it's obvious that they've been working on this for quite some time. I would say probably around the same time they started working on Sword and Shield, because it has some of the similarities to it. Second thing I was going to say is, yeah, I hate that phrasing of getting the game right, because, like, right for who? Like, you're not the director of the game. What? Just because you want it a certain way doesn't mean that's the same way that the director wants it. So, you say it takes this long to get the game right, but you don't. I don't know. You're just jumping ahead and thinking like this game has to be how you personally want the game to be, which could be completely different than what the purpose of the game is going to be.
Well, in my mind, that
phrasing
to get it done right is
the
prime, and a fairly recent example is Cyberpunk. They kept pushing back the game because it wasn't done, and they're like, it's not ready. So I guess ready should be the right word instead of right. Is that people don't want it to be released if it's not ready. And I guess that was part of the thing with Sword and Shield and some of the texturing and stuff, is that they thought the game wasn't ready when they released it. I think it was. The tree textures don't bother me. So I guess that's the thing, is people are saying right, and there are those who mean it like you said. Like, they have this vision of what the game should be, and they feel that they don't have enough time to get it how they want it to be, as opposed to the game director who is one of the driving forces. So I guess when I say a game right, I mean ready and to the best extent that it can fulfill the director's vision. But I agree with you. Like, even if it's 100% what the director wanted, it might not be anything like you wanted, and you know, you can either hate it for that, or you can try to enjoy the vision of the director.
Yeah, the third thing I wanted to bring up, and you kind of just started touching on it, was I nowadays with video games in general, to me, the video game industry has broken a trust with me where we've gotten game after game these unfinished or felt like, like these lackluster games, like for instance Cyberpunk, right? Everyone, there was a huge hype behind that, and now it's suffering from all these glitches. Not still the train from the game, like the game itself looks good, it seems like the gameplay's there, but the experience from what I'm hearing is very bad because people aren't able to get through the game as smoothly as they wanted to, and it's so bad to the point where it's unplayable. And then you get games like Anthem, where Anthem had a huge hype. I was one of those suckers that was like, really, I was 100% wanting to commit to Anthem, and then I didn't buy the game because like something felt off, and then we find out that this game was made up literally within like a year. You get games like Fallout 76, where again, something that was hyped up to be more than more than how it released, and it released very poorly. Not a lot of people liked it. Watch Dogs,
I think it was Legion.
What's the last one that just came out? Is it Watch Dogs Legion? Yeah, that one was another disappointing game for a lot of people. So it just, I don't know. There's like this weird. All of a sudden, video games aren't fulfilling to their promise anymore, and so it's broken a lot of trust. It's broken a lot of confidence of people looking to these publishers, and I think that's what's hurting every publisher nowadays, every developer out there, where it's like now people's expectations are so much higher. Maybe not so much higher, but they're I think people are getting fed up with being lied to, and now they're just like demanding of like, okay, if you're gonna give us a $60 game, it needs to be like this now, and not like the what is it, the leftovers, or what it feels like Fallout 76, like Anthem, like Cyberpunk. So that hasn't really been helping like, anybody in the video game industry.
Us as consumers though aren't without fault, because part of, I feel, especially with Cyberpunk, is they were like, it's supposed to be released like May of last year, and they're like, it's not ready. Everyone was like, oh cool, it's not ready, like, and they're like, we're gonna push it back to September, and then it got to like July, and they're like, it's still not ready, we're pushing it back again. And people just started to get upset that they kept pushing it back, and it's like, well, are you guys ever gonna finish? And it's like, do you want the game to be developed until it's ready, or do you want it now? Because you can't have both. Like, and the people who are making the money decisions are going to see people get frustrated with the delay and worry that they're going to lose interest, and people aren't going to buy as much. So they also are going to see the more and more hours being spent developing this game, and they're going to want, to cash out on it. So it is both, but us as consumers, we have to be understanding of like, you can't expect like a new Pokemon game every year and then it be up to like this supreme quality. Like, it's just like, yes, Nintendo is a huge powerhouse, but Game Freak's, it's a medium-sized developer, and they aren't exclusively making Pokemon games, or if they are, they're trying to do more than one. And I hope by moving the remakes to a different developer that lets them take the time and care they need to on these new games, because it's Bandai Namco is doing Snap, right? So yeah, they're giving more of the games
Yeah, I think so.
off. So hopefully that lets them develop, better and no crunch and everything like that. But yeah, it's like you said, like
Right.
I got bit hard by Anthem. I bought the Founders Edition of that game. Yeah. Yeah, I wanted
Oh
that
man,
game to be
did
good
you?
so
Oh.
bad. I tried. I tried to play it and enjoy it so much. Mm.
Oh man, I would have been right there with you, but something as we got closer just kind of threw me off, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready to invest in this just yet. And now
Yep.
they've stopped. They stopped servicing the game. Like it's done. But yeah, I think people forget that Game Freak is its own company and that they are. I don't want to say that they're allowed to make other games because it's not like our decision. Like they do other games. I think Giga Wrecker was like no, not Giga Wrecker. There was Giga Wrecker they've had out for a little while, and then Little Town
Well,
Hero I
then
think was their
they're
last
developing.
game
What is it
that
called?
was
Just
not a Pokemon
Town.
related game.
That's been in development for a few years.
Oh wait, maybe that's what I'm talking about. Not Little Town Hero. I
Yeah.
thought it was called Little Town Hero, but yeah, Town.
Is it?
We're talking about the same thing
Missed
there.
that.
Yeah, that's been out already. Yeah, that's been out for I think a year. You're talking about the guy that like it's like a little character that has like a sword
There
and a
was a
shield
Little
kind of thing,
Town
like battles
Hero,
monsters.
but Town by Game Freak official website. Oh, what? I guess they got renamed to Little Town Hero. It came out in October. How did I miss that?
Yeah, it was discreetly presented and released. But yeah, I mean, the Game Freak wants to make other games, and rightfully so. So, I think people need to understand that, that they're not just solely a Pokemon production company. Like they do other stuff, and good for them for
Yeah.
doing other things. Like I really want to try Giga Record. Like that game looks
Well,
really
and
good. So
letting
at
them
some point, maybe
do
that'll be my summer game to
things
play.
like
But
Little Town Hero and stuff lets them experiment on they're like, oh, we want to try this art style, we want to try this game system, we want to try all these different things, and then they're like, we'll see how this is received, and then they can bring things in that are well received into Pokemon. Because I don't think they're willing to, obviously they're willing to experiment, that's the whole thing of Legends, but I still feel like they're not really to go full on experimental with the franchise at Game Freak. Obviously they've given it to some other developers to do some more interesting things with the IP, but Game Freak themselves, let them go build other RPGs, let them learn how to build action RPGs and other things like that, and then they can bring that lesson in with Pokemon as well. It's a good crossbreeding of ideas and stuff, and people say, if you get stuck in a creative rut, go look at other art or go try to do something else. If you're trying to draw and it's well, you're just stuck with drawing, go write. Just try to get your brain thinking in a different creative sense. And I don't, I feel of all companies that I haven't been truly bit by, it has been Game Freak. I don't feel like I've ever been disappointed by one of their games. Has it been everything that I've ever wanted from a Pokemon game?
Same.
No, but I've never played through a Pokemon game made by Game Freak and been well, this sucked.
Yeah, same here. Although I'm still crossing my fingers for a Pokemon MMORPG at some point in my lifetime.
Possible, but I also
that's what I want.
I don't know. I think we need a rejuvenation in the MMO scene. I feel like that scene is just stagnated for a while, but maybe Pokemon's what it needs to be, a refresher to the MMO scene.
Yeah. Well, we shall see. All right, let's go ahead and wrap up this episode. Awesome.
I mean,
dude, do you
if
want to
follow me on
social
Twitter,
media plugs?
Squirtle Squad spelled SQAD47. I mainly just like and retweet people. I don't really tweet much of myself, but I also have that handle on Twitch. Finally, my kid is starting to get good at sleeping through the night, so I might actually try to start streaming again. So I'm honestly thinking if I can. My computer's been acting up, so I'm thinking I might try to upgrade the computer a little bit, and Snap seems like as good a place as any to pick it back up, because everyone else will be streaming Snap, so like, why not? So I think try to have things set up by the end of April, so I can hopefully everything in our life is set, so I can start streaming again a few nights a week.
So, final question here: Will we see you / hear you again on this podcast?
We could talk about all the things Pokemon.
We'll talk logistics later. All right. Well, listeners, thank you for partaking in our conversation. Thank you for hearing us out. If anything, you can follow me on social media at SpartanStrike07 on Twitter and Instagram. Also on YouTube as well. Twitch is another thing I'm gonna eventually poke at. I'm gonna hold off on that though, because I haven't done anything on Twitch in a very, very long time. But yeah. That's pretty much it. So this was the bonus episode. We'll go back to regular episodes starting this Thursday, where I'll probably talk a little bit again about all the Pokemon Presents announcements, as well as definitely giving my thoughts on the virtual concert that happened just the other day. And with that being said, thank you, everybody. Appreciate your support. Appreciate you guys listening, and can't wait to talk to you guys next time to talk anything and everything Pokemon.